to the Spindle Saga Podcast. Today is Saturday, October 10th, 2015, and I'm Jessica. This is a spinning, knitting, and now sewing podcast. It's basically all the crafts that I'm currently doing. In the past, I've had a co-host, Amanda, but she is, which is exciting news, she got accepted into a PhD program, and she is working on her PhD, so I don't know if she'll really be podcasting anymore with me. Right now, she's really focused on school, so if you're wondering where Amanda is, that's what she's up to. I know it's been, forever. I think the last time I recorded was in May, so I'm sorry for the huge hiatus that the podcast went on. Basically, this summer I took a class, I graduated, I teach swimming in the summer. I've been a swim lessons teacher for 9 years, and so in the summer that is when I can teach a lot of swimming, and so I basically worked all day. I worked for like 12-hour days, probably about 12-hour days every day for the summer besides taking that one class. So I've been excruciatingly busy, and now at my current job I've been working a lot because they've needed me, so I've just been working a lot. But I'm excited to get to podcasting, and I started watching a bunch again the other day, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I really need to do one. So, okay, enough about that. Okay, so I'm going to break the podcast up into segments. In the past, I've had segments. I'm going to try to be better about keeping them more streamlined. So the first segment is going to be knitting, and I really did not knit at all this summer. I knit like 3 things, and so I don't think I shared that on the podcast because I didn't finish it till this summer. Okay, so the one thing I actually did, big project I finished this summer, I don't even have with me, so I will share that next time. But anyways, so what I did finish, I finished at the end of September, I finished a hat. I finished the Ricky hat. I believe this is the right side, I think. And I knit it. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's basically a garter stitch hat. So you knit one round and then you purl one round. There you go. I believe the pattern calls for a 4 to begin with. And then after you knit, I think it says 14 rounds. I did it for 1.5 inches because I knit my row gauge is so much different than anyone else's. It's so much bigger that I knit about 1.5 inches, and then I just switched. And then you switch to a 7. I did not have a 4, and I could not find a 4 anywhere in my house. And I didn't want to order one, and I didn't want to drive 30 minutes to buy one. So I used a 5. And so because I used a 5 and a 7 and not a 4 and a 7, I did not do 104 stitches like the pattern calls for. I did 90, and it fits great. I love it. I love my hat, right? Okay, so that's fun. It's really warm in here, so I'm not going to wear it while I podcast. It is out of 2 by hand DK weight in the Chosen One colorway, which is a new colorway they dyed up for Stitches Texas. And I'm going to talk more about Stitches Texas in a little bit. For those of you who don't know, I hope I said my name at the beginning of this. If not, I'm Jessica, also known as Jessie Nareem on Ravelry and Instagram. I don't think I said that, so there you go. And I live in the Dallas, Texas area, and we had Stitches Texas recently, and so I got this yarn there and did the hat. Okay. So other things that I'm knitting. Sorry, my dog is my co-host today. His name is Castle, and he is an Australian Shepherd, and he is just there. So that's that kind of black fur thing right there. You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Okay, fine. He's not going to cooperate. Okay, so other things that I'm working on. It is September, and what I've been knitting on, what I was going to knit on in this show is Rev, which is also a free pattern. And of course I'm in the middle of a row, which makes this really difficult to show. It is by Lisa Mooch, I believe is how you say her name. It's called Zilver, and I'm knitting it on Plucky Feet in the CC Bloom colorway, which was a classics colorway a few months ago. I want to say in May, but I could be making that up. It might have been April, because I think they do the club on even months, I think is when you get it. But anyways, I didn't participate in the classics. I ordered this later when it was offered in an update, and I love this color. Let me find okay, now that I'm a little further on I won't lose it. Here's the ball. I actually hand wound this one. I've been having some issues with my cakes coming apart, and it drives me insane. And I was bored, so I actually just wound this into a ball. It is a beautiful, vibrant pink. I really like this pattern for the ridges. I really think I'm going to do another one with hand spun. And I've wanted to do a pattern where I do it out of a solid hand spun and then like a commercial variegated yarn. Or not a commercial, but like an indie dyed variegated yarn, to see how they all differ. So I think I might do this. This is a mindless pattern. This is really easy. It is free, so I'm not giving anything away. The only thing I struggle with, and I've had to rip it out, like I think I've done it on each section of these ridges. I've done it at least once, where after you knit two together on the next row, you knit from back in every stitch. You don't just knit across. And I love to forget that, and so it's real fun to, rip out a whole row. And as it gets longer, it takes a lot longer to rip. So yeah, hopefully I'll quit forgetting that. Okay, so I'm working on that. Last weekend, I went to Albuquerque with my parents and my brother-in-law, and we drove to Albuquerque, where my sister, who goes to school in Flagstaff, met us. And she's the one married to my brother-in-law, in case you're wondering. And so we all met up, and we went to the balloon fiesta, which was so much fun. It's so cool. And our friends, or my parents' friends, aren't really my friends because I met them for the first time last weekend. They do a lot of ballooning. I don't know if that's a word, ballooning. I don't know. They did a lot of balloon stuff, and they are always on a crew. And they've been doing this for like 30 years, okay? And so I'm a big Star Wars fan, so it was really cool that they happened to be, in previous years, they've been on a crew with the Darth Vader balloon, and then this year they were doing the Yoda balloon. So it was really cool. It was really obvious which balloon was theirs. I think they had the only Star Wars balloons. There was Darth Vader and there was Yoda. So that was pretty cool to see those go up in the sky. It was awesome. If you ever can go do that, you should totally do it. Just mentally prepare yourself, because you have to be there really early. Like, we got there at 10 or 11 p.m. Mountain Time, and this is on Friday night. So we drove from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. because it takes us 10 hours. And my sister, who came from Flagstaff, Arizona, drove in 5 hours, and so she lost an hour. So it's now an hour later for her, and we had to get up at 4:45 in the morning. So we really should have. They and their friends even told them, oh, we'd probably be okay being there at 5, but they said we really should have been there around 4:30 in the morning. But that wasn't happening because my poor sister literally got up at like 3 o'clock her time. So 3 or 4 a.m. her time. I know, poor thing. Anyways, so we got up super early to go watch, but you want to be there when the mass ascension is going on, and that's when all the balloons are heating up and it's dark, and it's so cool because they're all, glowing, and then they all, lift off over time. And so you do that, and then, by about 10 o'clock in the morning, everybody's in the air, so it's kind of, whatever until in the evening. So just be prepared. It's a 5-hour experience, but it starts at 4:30 in the morning. So yeah, that was fun. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of driving for a day trip, but it was fun. It was worth it. Okay, so anyways, so while we were in the car driving to and from Albuquerque, I worked on my Quidditch project for the house cup. I have to do something fiddly or something that looks more complicated than it is, and so I'm doing a monster. And I was gonna bring the book to show you, but since I'm out of practice of podcasting, I didn't bring it. It's downstairs. But I'm knitting Bee the Basement Monster. It's BEA. And it's in a book of monsters by Rebecca Danger. And I must say, I really recommend the book. I think there's like 20 monsters in it. They're all super cute. They're all really easy to follow the directions. Most of her patterns I think are like $5 or $6, unless you're talking the free ones. But I want to make a Penelope, so I'm gonna invest the money in buying that pattern. But if you just want to make monsters and you would rather, spend $20 or whatever on a book and get a bunch of different ones, I would say this is a book to get. Again, I wish I had it with me, but I love all the monsters in it. And so I'm doing Bee the Basement Monster. The next one I think I'm going to do is Dot the Dress Up Monster. And they're all named like that. I think there's Cecil the Computer Monster. I think I'm going to try to make my dad one for Christmas because he's a computer guy. And his office is in our house and he's on his computer and he does his thing. And so he liked my monster I was working on. So anyways, I'm going to show it to you. It's also out of yarn that I got at Stitches, Texas. I'm being awesome and using it all up. But, okay, it doesn't look like much. Okay, I've knit a lot of pieces, but until I sew it together, it looks weird. But this is the top of this monster. And I did jack up the pattern because if you're in a car for 10 hours, you quit looking at your pattern and you don't read things like you do. But so I think my monster is just taller than the pattern would call for, because eventually you quit doing knit rounds in the middle of every decrease round, and if you're cool like me, you keep knitting the plain rounds. So here it is. Here's the top with the body, and this is this goofy flap, which I guess is going to become the bottom. That's what I'm hoping, because it looks really goofy. To make him flat so he'll sit or she'll sit, I don't know. This is out of scraps of that Ricky hat in the Chosen One. And then I have made the feet. My feet, however, they don't match up very well. One is significantly larger than the other, so I'm gonna rip a couple of rows out of the first foot, which is the bigger one, just so it kind of sort of matches better. And here those are. I love this Chosen One colorway. And then the main body of him is in Mustache Yarn, the Wall. And this is on her Sweater Girl base, and it is a DK weight, I believe. And I almost feel like these are the same bases. I mean, they're from different dyers, but I don't know if they get their own custom base made, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're the same. They feel awesome, so I mean, I love them both. And what's really cool is back in May, this color, the Wall, was a Mustache Club thing. It was like her summer tour, and the Wall was the third color, and so like you could buy, I'm not sure how it worked now, somehow you could buy them like individually, so you didn't have to buy all three of them unless you wanted to. And I of course bought them all, but she had said that the first two were going to be on fingering weight, and then this one was going to be on sweater or on DK weight. And then I guess she got a lot of feedback, and a lot of people love her sock base, and I love it too. It's awesome. It's amazing. And so then she decided just to do it all in fingering weight, which is cool, no big deal. But I really was excited about the worsted weight or a DK worsted, whatever, because I wanted to do a monster out of self-striping. I wanted to do them forever. And so I did not sign up for the club. I had actually gotten the color at SSK. I was visiting a friend in Nashville, and we went to the SSK market, and I bought the wall there, not even realizing it was that club. It would be the club colorway too. And so, so I already had it on Finger Made anyways. And so I asked her about getting it on worsted, and so she brought some skeins of it to Stitches, Texas, which was awesome. I was very excited. So thank you, Stacy. I don't know if she watches this podcast. I doubt it, but I appreciate her accommodating my wish. I also have an ear made. I think it might be in here. Here it is. Here. Oh. Wait, am I... Okay, yeah, here's one of the ears. I was gonna try to do the arms out of this color too, but I'm not gonna have enough scraps. I'm barely gonna get the second ear out of it. And then I'll have to, the pattern shows the arms and the body color anyways, so that's just what I'm gonna do. I don't know. Okay, so there's the monster. Okay, so started those two. I've been knitting this Gals Away It shawl number 4 by, I think it's by Susan B. Anderson. I hope it's by Susan B. Anderson. I did not check that one before recording, so hope you're the person who wrote this better. I started this in the summer for the Around Your Neck cowl, and I totally dropped the ball with all my cows this summer. I really did, y'all. I was so busy. But this is out of the Perfectly Reckless colorway from Miss Babs on the Yowza base. There we go. It's like dark purples and pink and yellow and green. I don't really think you can see it that great in this light. Maybe that's better. Okay. Anyways, so I'm finally to the applied border, which I don't think I've ever done. I knew what it was, but I've never done it. So that's kind of cool that I'm doing one. And I'm, yay far. I still have plenty to go. But I'm just chugging along on that. This is in my Suburban Stitcher bag, which Diane custom made for me because she's awesome. If you've never got a bag from her, you are missing out. I picked this fabric, and then I told her I liked this one, and she used it for the inside, which was so sweet of her. And I got a big one. She has a smaller one, which is probably the normal size that you're used to seeing. But I have this sort of medium-sized bag. I also have a humongous one of hers. I just love her bags. She picks great fabric, and she does a nice job selling them. And she ships them to you in a great time. Awesome person. Awesome business. Okay, the last thing I'm knitting on. And hopefully, my goal is to really be monogamous. Because probably by the time I get to December, it's going to be like a hand-spun, hand-knit Christmas again for everyone under the sun. And so I'll have to start knitting Christmas presents. But I don't really start till December. I'm fortunate enough to work for a school, and so I'll get a couple weeks off, and I don't know. I managed to find time to craft for people. I happen to only have a K9 that I'm responsible for, so last year, that's what I did. I did that all the entire month of December. I just crafted for people, and I got everything done, so I should be good. Amanda's birthday is coming up. It is not this Saturday, like a week from today. It's in 2 weeks. So I have 2 weeks to finish her present, so it is not on this podcast. I don't think she has time to even watch this. I don't know why she would watch me on a podcast, but I don't know. Maybe she would. I don't know. But I'm not going to air it just in case. Okay. The last thing I'm knitting. Oh, it's in this bag. Okay, I'm confused. Okay. I'm making Warwick. Let me see if there's a picture I can show you. Here's a picture, and there's no pattern. Interesting things. Okay. So that is Warwick by Irish Girly Knit. And there is nothing from the pattern on that page. Okay, and I'm knitting it out of Plucky Knitter snug fingering. I literally just started, so that was kind of lame, but it is in the Lady Violet colorway. It is a nice, beautiful purple. That is my favorite color. So this is probably the shade of purple, other than Orchid, that is my favorite color. So, just saying, love the purple. So I started this one, the pink one, the other day, and I had to look for that yarn too. I could not find it. I got a new bed in my room, and so when you go through the process of getting a new bed, you have to go through the process of getting rid of the old one. And the only way, you know, someone who's going to come buy your bed or move it or take it away is going to be able to do that is if your room is empty of all things, or, you know, 90% empty of all things. So all of my stuff got put in another bedroom, and it's just in bags. And I used to store, well, and I still do, I store yarn in these like plastic tubs, and I used to be able to stack them too high under my old bed, and so I had like 6 or 8 of them, I don't even know, and they would fit really well under my old bed. And so all my yarn was in there, and that's where most of it is, but then not all of it would fit, and I couldn't find this yarn forever. So anyways, so when I finally found it, I made that ball and I started it, and everything's great. I have knit with this Plucky Feet base before, and I was unhappy with it the first time, and so I washed where I was at on this scarf that I will never finish. Not because I don't like the yarn, because I don't like the color combination I chose. But I did like the fabric, and it was On the Dot by Amy Miller. I don't like pink, black, and gray together. I don't know why. I just don't. So I'm gonna have to pick another color for that scarf because I really want it. But anyways, so I washed what I had because it was puckering and I never did color work, and I dried it just to see, you know, and it fixed all of the puckering, let me tell you, blocking, and all I did was suck it and just lay it out, and it was a much nicer looking garment, so I could quit freaking out while I was knitting that scarf, even though it'll never be finished. I need to rip it out, but the yarn itself did feel a lot better. So what I'm thinking I should do is, I have some more Plucky Feet, is that I should wash it first and then try to knit with it, like knit a swatch out of something else I have lying around, and see how I like the feel of that. I'm sure that would be a lot better, because I will finish this because I really love the color and I really love the pattern I picked, but I really do not like the way it feels. I don't. So I'm thinking that if I were to wash the yarn first, that would help soften it up. I've knit with Primo fingering before, and I love that. That is a dream to knit with, and I don't know if that's kind of what I'm mentally expecting or what, but like I've used merino nylon blends before. I mean, that's what the Yowza Way shells out of. It's a different yarn, you know, it's a different base, but I mean, I have a ton of merino nylon yarn floating around, and none of them feel this way. This is, yeah, so sorry if this is your favorite base of yarn to knit with, but it is not mine. Yeah, it feels weird, but I know in the end it will be okay, so I'm not thinking I'm, you know, wasting my time knitting it. But because of that, I had this skein of snug fingering lying around that I was trying to come up with a pattern for, and it feels amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. I knit a hat out of snug worsted, and it is amazing too. It is the alpaca base that Plucky has. I don't think the tag is in here because that would have been convenient. Here, I will look it up and tell you what the content is. I cannot wear 100% alpaca items because they itch. My mother got me a hat and a scarf a year or two ago that was 100% alpaca, I think she won them in some auction or something at our little fiber thing we have here in town. And I cannot wear them, so basically they're hers. But it was very sweet of her to win them for me. They were purple and they're alpaca and they're amazing, but they bug the heck out of my skin. Which is really too bad because they're beautiful. I think the scarf is even like a woven. Yeah. So I knit the snug worsted hat for some friends of ours in Alaska. And I do believe I wore it for a couple of days and I'll wash it again before I send it to them. But it didn't bother me as much because this is not 100% alpaca. I think it's 85% merino actually, but I'm going to check because I do not want to tell you all the wrong thing. Let's see. Okay, it's 70% merino, so I was wrong. It's 70% merino, 20% cashmere, and 10% alpaca. Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was 10% alpaca. So I'm hoping the 10% alpaca is something I can handle because it feels so nice and it's so squishy and wonderful. And I think it takes the dye really nicely. And you know, it's nice to mix it up a bit and do something besides merino and nylon because that's all I ever use. So I'm going to knit this and see if I like it. I know I live with a knitter who would appreciate a scarf made out of this yarn. So if I can't wear it, I'll probably give it to my mom for Christmas. But we'll see. It'll be a good experiment, I think, for me to see. My mom loves the color purple as well, in case you were wondering. So hopefully I can wear it though. I've been wanting to knit this pattern forever, and I really want to be able to keep it. Okay, so I think we're done with knitting. Okay, let's move on to spinning because I have to spin today. And I'm not spinning right now, which is kind of a shame. I am participating in Spinzilla. And I tried, epically failed, to participate in the Yarngasm Podcast's sock spackle, which was to spin enough fiber to make you a pair of socks and then knit them. So I started during the Tour de Fleece, which I thought was great. I'll get this done. And I did not. I finished, I plied my yarn at Stitches, Texas. So, and that was last month. So, clearly I was supposed to do the spackle, I believe, was June, July, and August. I think it was a 3-month spackle. That or it was July and August. Maybe it was July and August. I think that's what it was. So I epically failed at that. But I did finish my yarn. I was doing 2 by hand Superwash Tardy base on there, and it was the Twilight Potter Games base, or the Twilight Potter Games colorway. And this is the yarn I got out of it. And it is awesome. It is every color under the sun. And I really need to photograph it for their Q3 challenge because I finished it last month and I never posted it. And it's a movie reference, which was one of the things we could do. It is so fun. At first, I thought it was kind of too fun to do for socks. Like I thought, oh, I really want that for a shawl or something. But I really do think I'm going to just do some vanilla socks. Probably My Favorite Socks pattern by Kristen of Villenvine Yarns because I really like that pattern. And I'm just going to go for it. Okay. So that is all the FOs. The spins in progress. It's the week of Spinzilla. It ends tomorrow. So I have to apply and get my button gear. But I have Miss Shudo on BFL. And that is an NCIS reference. And it is the coolest color ever. I do have 8 ounces of it. I really wanted to spin all 8, but I'm not going to get 4 more of a fingering weight done by tomorrow. So I'm just going to apply this and have that, and then I'll do the second braid at a later date. And then I started a sweater spin. I have 3 or 4 sweater quantities of fiber that I've got to spin. Like, I've got to spin them or I need to destash them. And so one of which is actually a combo spin. Of course, I didn't pick one that I already had, like was all the same colorway. but I had, let me think. I had 5 different braids that I entered in my owl for House Cup. And there was Make Love Not Horcruxes. These are all 2 by hand polymer silk colorways. Well, all their colorways go on all their fibers. Life is a Season, Rocket Man, Outer Limits, and Calavera. So I have 20 ounces. And so I've just been stripping that fiber like a mad woman and applying and just spinning away. Basically, my goal is I like variegate. So far, okay, I'm gonna like a solid sweater, I think. But I saw a friend of mine whose name is Kristen. Her name is KBrooks24 on Ravelry. She had knit a couple of hand spin sweaters. She's knit like 3 or 4 of them. And they're all kind of variegated-y and they all look amazing. She knits awesome sweaters. And then Kristen Evelyn by Yarns has knit a featherweight out of her colorway called Gashly Crumb. And I really like the kind of variegatedness of the sweaters that I've seen, like Kristen's sweaters. My friend Jalen's knit a few, so stuff like that. And so I really want to join the Blue and White Yarns, or I think it's a Yarn Guys on podcast. I don't know. They're by the same girl. Her featherweight cow. And so I'm going to try to spin 20 ounces so I get enough to make me one. Because it will be hand spun and it will be different. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. Okay, it's hand spun. So my goal is to get two skeins to start with. I'll swatch and everything. Even if I'm still spinning more of it, the colors are going to pool. It's going to happen. But I'm going to try to avoid screwing up the gauge and the weight by alternating skeins anyways, and then that'll help with the color progression at least a little. The one thing that I'm concerned with is stripage. I'm okay with a little bit of a stripe, like a skinny stripe, but not, sorry my nose is itching, but not like a big old 4-inch stripe, you know. And so there's enough gray in this sucker. I mean, I guess if there is a stripe, it's going to be gray. But I'm really trying hard to prevent that. I think if I was doing a 3-ply yarn, that would be better, but there's no way I'd get a 3-ply green weight. I just didn't have patience to try for it. I've done it once. And it took a lot, and then I had to respin one of the bobbins through the wheel because it was breaking. Or one of the bobbins was breaking, while I was playing. It was a freaking nightmare. So, that's my goal. I'm going to knit a swatch and see how it goes, but hopefully it will not strip insanely. Or at least with me alternating skeins. I mean, I'm willing to alternate 3 or 4 skeins all at once to prevent this. Like, that is how hardcore about it I am. Because I'm crazy like that, but it's okay. Hopefully it will turn out great. I have some jumbo bobbins I can apply to, so I can get some pretty big skeins, which would be nice. Okay, enough about the sweater. I'm pretty sure that's all I am spinning. Okay, so I got into, one of the reasons that I hardly crafted this summer is because, well, I didn't hardly craft. I did craft. I just did not knit or spin hardly anything. I think the only thing I tried to spin was that skein that I just showed you. But my sister came home for the summer, and she is a big quilter, and my mom is a big quilter. And my mom started doing this thing called the Row by Row Experience, which you can find more about if you go to rowbyrowexperience.com. And you know what, next summer I might do a separate little podcast thing for it, just because I could talk about row by row all day. And so what it is this year they got 2,400 quilt stores between the US and Canada, And I'm talking Hawaii to Alaska to Canada to the Virgin Islands, I think, like all over the place. They designed their own rows. So an individual quilt store had somebody design them a little quilt pattern that was a row, and it was a 36-inch row. I don't know if there was a height requirement or a width requirement, because some of the rows went vertical, some went horizontal, some could go either. But if you went to the quilt store, you had to get the patterns in person. You could get the pattern for free, or you could get their kit. They would sell you a kit, and they would have theirs made up with the fabric used in their kit, and you could just get their fabric that they picked for it to make it. And the kits cost money. So if you got 8 rows from 8 different stores, okay, some stores had 2 rows. Okay, it had to be 8 different stores. And you put 8 rows in a quilt, bound, okay, you had the quilt put together, bound, and labeled, and you were the first person to take it to a participating quilt store. You won a prize of 25 fat quarters. If that quilt store's row was in your quilt, you won a bonus prize. And so it goes, right? So we got into this like madness of row by row. And I do have a quilt, but I do not have it to show you, and it's kind of cool why. So I had 8 rows in my quilt. My mom had 8 in hers, and she did win down in McKinney at Happiness is Quilting. I should have brought hers up here to show, but I'll bring it next time, because I'll hopefully have mine next time. So it took me a lot longer to finish mine. It was my first quilt, and I finished it like 2 weeks ago, and the rows were applique, or a lot of them were, and so I got to learn how to applique, and I really do enjoy applique. I really recommend doing something like that if you've never done something like applique before. When they do it next summer, totally go into a quilt store and get a free pattern. You can use your own fabric. They already have, you could use scraps just to practice the applique part, because that's what I did. It was umbrellas, and I did a practice umbrella first before I did my row. And even when I was working on the particular row I'm thinking of, I still jacked up one of them, and I had to redo it, but it worked out. But I learned how to applique, which was really cool. And then I learned how to quilt a quilt, because I had to quilt it on my sewing machine, or my mom's sewing machine. And I learned, so one of the stores I went to had little petals for theirs. It was Not Your Mama's Quilt Store in Plano, Texas. And she had done hers and made it like a little wall hanging, and she quilted it with sparkly thread. And I'm a sucker for sparkles. And so I bought 2 spools of this metallic clear thread to use to quilt my quilt with. And you need a metallic needle. You need the needle size that the thread you buy requires. Okay? First things first. And still sometimes it will still jack up on you, because I struggled, and at the end I had about that much left of quilting to do, and I could not get the metallic thread to work right. And so I just swapped everything out for some gray thread and just did that much. I was like, I'm done with this. So I wouldn't maybe recommend metallic thread for a very large project. I really wouldn't. Or your first project. Maybe your second. And maybe something small. Not a huge quilt. Not a quilt that's like, yeah, don't do it. Please. I beg you, you'll get pissed. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. You'll get frustrated. Anyways. Okay, so when I finished mine, I had intended to bring it to a particular quilt store. Unfortunately, they had a winner already, and the ladies there, they're the nicest people. I went there today. So you're going to figure out, it was the Whitesburg Quilt Store. It was Kaleidoscope Quilts. I had gone there to get some backing and a border for my quilt. And so I brought the quilt top with, so we could measure and figure out what I needed. And they're the sweetest ladies in the world. And they were so excited to see my quilt. They even told me nobody had even brought a quilt top to show them. So that was cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get to win there. Somebody else did, which, kudos to them. But I was able to win in Celeste at Quilt Mercantile. And Celeste is a teeny tiny town in the middle of nowhere, but they do have a pretty awesome quilt store. I mean, it's a good size quilt store especially for being in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it'd be a good size quilt store in McKinney. Like, yeah, it's really good sized. And the people there are so sweet. And so they're about an hour away from where I live. And so I called them to see if they had a winner. I started looking at the rows of my quilt. You don't have to bring it to a place that has a row in your quilt. But you don't win the bonus prize if you don't go to a place that you put in your quilt. And I wanted to bring it to a place that I had gone to get a row in, just because I knew they would think it was cool, that the row was in it. And they're giving me a prize, so I kind of felt like it would be nice for me to have, given them some business and bought their kit, or, taken the time to go see them at least once before. So, I called there were 4 stores on there I thought might not have a winner. I knew I had, I'll tell you more about this next time. But anyway, so my quilt is there because I did win their prize. So next week I should have it back, and I'll hopefully be able to show it to you. But I got super into sewing. That's the whole point of this random tangent that we went on about row by row. Okay, I promise I'm getting to the point. So I sew now. I do, right? And so I learned how to do a binding before I did my row by row quilts on this lovely mug rug, right? It's a little egg basket. It is in the Farm Girl Vintage book by Lori Holt. She is on Instagram as Lori, like a B-E-E, Lori 1, the number 1. And she makes all sorts of cute little things. And so I've made a ton of her stuff now. But this was the first thing I really legit quilted and bound. And it's still a little jacked up on this side, but it's okay. It's a coaster. I mean, come on. Nobody cares, right? There's a little cooking fabric on the back. Yeah, it's awesome, right? Okay, so I had a lot of fun doing this. So I did this. So this is just an example of the stuff I've been making. And then I sewed a bag today because I needed a project bag. And I was bored and felt like sewing. So I made this bag, and I've got to learn how to put a zipper in better. Guys, I cannot do a zipper to save my life. And I thought I did so good on this one, and then it was all screwed up. When I flipped it out, somehow I missed some of the fabric, and I had done it again, and I was kind of at that point of no return, because I don't know how to, Anyways, I've got to figure out that I need to flip it back after I finish both sides of the zipper to double check, because I don't think to do that, and you would think I would, because every zipper I've ever done has had this issue. And I pinned the heck out of my zippers too, let me tell you. There's 10 pins, and this is a 14-inch zipper, so every inch and a quarter is a pin. Come on. Okay, so this has some ink fabric. I think it's by Zen Chic. The modern background fabric is by Zen Chic, and I believe this is the same people. So it's got words on it. I got this fabric today. I don't think you can read the words. I think it's just scripted. I don't know. I don't know. And there's a handle. I made a nice big handle. I prefer bags with a handle, so I can do that. And the handle matches the inside fabric, which is some nerd fabric. I don't even know if you can see it very well, because there is not great lighting over here. There you go. Okay, so I made this today. It also has a nice canvas bottom. I got that idea from Kristen of the Villavine Yarns podcast. She's been making bags and giving them canvas bottoms, and I thought that was a pretty smart idea. And the way I did this was I took a fat quarter and I cut it in half, well, almost in half. A fat quarter I think is supposed to be 20 by 20 or something close to that. And I don't think mine, I think this ended up being, oh, there's a thread there. This was, to make it all nice and straight, this isn't 10, this is 8.5. Or the piece was 8.5. I had 2 equal 8.5 pieces. But it took 1 fat quarter to do the top, and then I used just a little bit of the canvas for the bottom. But it's a nice size, I think. Okay, so that's all the sewing I have to share. Okay, so now we're going to move on to stash enhancements and chatter. We're just going to do them all at once because they're all about the same thing. Okay, so I went to Stitches, Texas a couple weekends ago. I couldn't even tell you what the dates were. I think it was the 19th and the 18th and the 19th. But I might be totally lying, and it was before then. Anyways, so it was a couple weeks ago. And I got to see Amanda, and I hadn't seen her in a while, so that was fun. And we went Saturday and Sunday, because we both had to work and go to school on Friday, or she went to school on Friday. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people there. Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many vendors and so many knitters in one place. It was so much fun. So I got a lot of stuff, and I've gotten a lot of stuff since I last podcasted. So I'm not gonna show you guys everything I've gotten in the last 4 months. That'd be kind of crazy. We'd be here all night. So what I am gonna show you is just a little bit of what I've gotten. And everything else is pretty much, I think, on my stash page or whatever, if you really want to see. Or if you have a question about something, you can always ask. Okay, so we're going to start with Stitches, Texas stuff, and then I have some other enhancements I got this summer that I thought were cool and wanted to share. I got some exhausted braids from Took by Hand. I love everything that they have to offer. But I like buying their exhausted braids in person because then I can really see what they look like. And then if I want more than one, I can buy more than one. So this is one of their exhausted braids on Super Rush Merino and nylon. So here's that. The bag that my shawl, the pink shawl is in, is a bag I got by My Little Turtle. She sold bags. That's my friend Kristen. She sold bags at the Took by Hand booth. Here's another exhausted braid on MCN from Took by Hand. This is my colors. Maite, who's one of the people in the business, she was like, Jessie, that's your colors. She's totally right. So it's mine. I think Kristen was telling me that too. And so it just came home with me. I think I got another one on Polar Silk. I don't have it to show you. Okay, and then I got some yarn to make Amanda's mom some socks for Christmas because she really wants some hand knit socks. So I'm gonna knit her some because I'm like that. I gotta knit my mom some socks then because I've never knit socks for anyone else. And so we kind of, yeah, I gotta knit mom some of them too. Okay, this is Whiz Bangs, and this is dyed by Jalen, and it's on their Super Rush Merino nylon base. I don't even know. You can see all the cool colors in there. There's green, red, blue, and brown. It's really dark, so it's kind of hard to tell. Okay. I also went to Mustache. Oh, that's not one of that. Hang on. Okay, I got 2 colorways from there. The one I have to show you is the Family Reunion. Oh, and I got the Wall worsted, and I got a rainbow one. Exploding rainbow. I couldn't find it real quick to show y'all, so I got this one. This one has equal distance stripes, or equal length stripes, whatever. Okay. And I got, oh my gosh, for those of you who don't know, I love the movie Frozen. I love Frozen. I'll just go with it. I don't know if I caught all the Frozen fever that all my students caught last year or 2 years ago when it came out, but I love Frozen. It's a great story. I love all the songs. So I got Frozen on Western Sky Knits Twinkle Base. They had it at Stitches, Texas, but they only had one skein left, and Amanda really wanted it, so I let her get it last time, and so it was mine this time. Like, we were walking to the booth, and I could see all their stuff, but the first thing I saw was this, and I just grabbed it and was like, okay, I'm good. It's mine. I've never knit anything out of their yarn. No, I have. I knit a pair of socks, but I need to knit a shawl out of their stuff because they have nice bases and they do a good job dyeing, I think. So I should really get that knit up. Okay. I think, okay, that's everything from Stitches, Texas. Okay, everything else is from all the other million things I went to. So this summer, I went to Nashville. Well, I went to Jackson, Tennessee, where a friend of mine goes to school. Saw her. My mom and I went row by row shopping all over Creation. And we went to Nashville and went to like 5 row by row stores. We saw my Aunt Penny, who lives in Goodlettsville, and we went to SSK for the market. And what's funny, so we kind of got lost at the Scarrett Benefit Center. We couldn't quite figure out where to go. Oh, here's the dog. Here he is. Say hi. This is Castle. He is named after Richard Castle on the TV show Castle. Anyways, so we went to SSK, and while we were trying to figure out where in the world to go, we see 2 people that have name tags on. We're like, oh my gosh, maybe they can help us. They look kind of like knittery people, you know, maybe knitters. And it turned out to be 2 people we know from Texas who we see at DFW all the time. So it worked out great. One is a good friend of my mom's, so they helped us figure out where the yarn was. I went to the mustache booth. In case you didn't know, I love mustache yarn. And I did get a couple of things at her booth, but one of them that I got was Modern, which is like a modern take on a rainbow. It's pink, yellow, green, orange. I think there's a brown in there. And there's also like an aqua blue. There you go. And, okay. Hold on. I thought, you are in the way. You are in the way. You are blocking the yarn, Castle. The other thing I got, which I don't usually buy, is I went, here it is. Okay, so I went to another Crafty Girls booth, and I bought a skein of lace weight. And this brings my grand total of lace weight yarn that I own to 3 skeins. I have a skein of Madeline Tosh that I've had for, I want to say like 7, no, maybe not 7 years. Maybe close to 7 years, maybe like 6 years. Because I got it at the Madeline Tosh store. And I think I got it right after they opened. Or at Mad Tosh Crafts. So, yeah, I have that skein. I have a skein of Plucky that I showed y'all this summer. Or I showed y'all in May. And I have this one. So now I have 3. And I've never knit any of them. So I really need to knit them. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is on her Twinkle Lace colorway. And the colorway is called Punky Brewster. I don't know what that's from. I don't know if that's a reference to something. But it is up my alley, the colors. It's blues, grays, purples, green. A couple of shades of green, some gray. Yeah, it's me. And it's Hot Girls. Okay. The other thing that I did this summer. Okay, so I love Socks That Rock. And they had a Rare Gem update a couple weeks ago or months ago. And I got an air colorway and a water colorway. Unfortunately, they don't label them when you get them, so I have no idea which ones these are, but I love both of them. They're awesome. So if you ever can do a Rare Gem update, totally get yourself a skein. So this is one of them. It's like purple, fuchsia, pink, orchid. It is got some gray. It is my favorite color combination. Purple and gray. And then this, I don't know. Again, I got water and air. I mean, this is not what I expected for water and air, but I love them, so I'm totally okay with it. This one's blue, gray, pink, brown, purple. Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome. Okay, so I'm totally okay with these. I love them. Okay. And then the only other things I have to show, which aren't super, well, they're kind of exciting. I went to some local stores. If you are in the Sherman, Texas area, in Whitesboro, Texas, there is a yarn store. Like a legitimate yarn shop, okay? Not like, I don't know, not a fake yarn shop, I guess. But they sell sugar needles, which I got today. I got the needles I'm knitting the purple shawl out of. And I got some more sock needles because I can never have enough of those. I got some size zeros, DPNs. Oh, at Stitches, Texas, I got this thing that my monster is sitting on. Where's the monster? Where'd it go? There it is. I went to Erin Lane Bags and got a DPN holder. Got this. Oh, I guess it's not sitting on it right now because everything's off the needles. I got that from Erin Lane. Okay. So at my lovely little yarn shop, there is a lot of Malaburgo. It's called Quixotic Fibers. Hold on, I have the bag. Here you go. She has a Ravelry group. You can go join it. She will be vending next week at the BPAFF, which is the Blackland Prairie and Fiber Festival. Blackland Prairie. Yeah, Blackland. Oh my gosh. I guess it's Blackland Prairie because it's BPAFF. So Blackland Prairie Artisan Fiber Festival. I don't know why I kept thinking it was Fiber Artisan Festival, but it's not. Okay. Artisan Fiber Festival. It's being held in Denison, Texas at the Loy Lake. Oh gosh. I don't have it written down and I know what it's called. It's at the Loy Lake thing. It's, if you get off at Loy Lake, there's like this little village. Loy Lake Village maybe is what it's called. It's like it's where they do like herding competitions and stuff. I think it's called the Loy Lake Village. Anyways, it's in there. I think it's like $5 to attend. You should totally come. And I believe this year they're doing the herding again. Last year they didn't because there was a herding competition. And it was so not as cool. Even though it was still really fun. We had a lot of great vendors come out. There were a lot of cool demonstrations. You could dye a t-shirt with indigo. There was a lot of cool stuff. But the year before they had dogs herding ducks. And it's the best thing ever. And they had dogs herding, I think there was like a sheep. I think they did like a whole legit thing. And it's totally family friendly, dog friendly place. Like it's got a dirt floor, but it's fine. Like there's nice restrooms. It's sanitary. Like don't worry about it. But you can bring your dog. I brought my dog. I always bring him. So if you want to see him, you should come hang out. And there's totally places to set up a wheel. We had people setting up looms last time. I set up a loom last time. I set up my little Cricut loom. I've got the same thing on my Cricut loom that I had last year. Maybe I'll bring it like the finish. Yeah. I really need to take that off. I think I'm going to take it off this weekend actually and just stitch across it and just call it good wherever it's at. I'll donate it to a homeless shelter or something. Somebody will appreciate it. But that is this weekend. And Quixotic Fibers will be having a booth there. And in her store, besides like Malaburgo, she sells some stuff I couldn't tell you the name of. But she does have a whole back room that's stuff she is destashing. And she's got some good stuff back there, y'all. She's sold a lot of it since I was there the first time. But she has like Woolmiza that she is just destashing. She's just getting rid of it because she's got so much of it. And so I have a skein of that now that I got from her. So that's kind of cool. And she doesn't mark the prices up or anything. I mean, she has some plucky. She has some skein. She has a bunch of cephalopod yarns and sanguine griffin. She's got some fiber. She doesn't have as much anymore, but she has Hello yarn. She had some tip by hand. I bought 2 by hand from her because I needed more, like I needed a hole in my head. But you know, like you do. But she's de-stashed a lot of stuff. I don't know what all of that she's bringing with, but you know, there you go. Take that with a grain of salt. Okay, and then I went to, right next door to the Quixotic Fibers is the Kaleidoscope Quilt Store. And I went there today too. It's really awesome to go to Whitesboro now because I can go to a yarn shop and a quilt store. So if I need needles. I mean, I have a lot of the yarn I need, or I get it online from Indie Dyers. But like, I hate having to order needles and pay shipping for a pair of needles. You know, so I always wait till I need a few pairs, or actually finish a project and use those. But yeah, so I got some more sock needles while I was there. I needed needles for that shawl. But I went to the quilt store. Again, the ladies there are awesome. And they had that modern background in ink fabric, and I did not expect that. They have a ton of it down at Stitch with Love in McKinney, Texas, which is an hour from where I live, so it's about twice as far. They have a ton of it down there, and so I have some from them, but they had some, so that was when I got the ink fat quarter to make that thing with. And I got another ink fat quarter because I'm addicted to this stuff now. And this is in the Modern Background Fabric line. Okay. And then I just got some other fat quarters. I'm obsessed with white fabric of all things. I know, right? Like, that's so bizarre. So I need to just, I don't know, I need to get like a half yard or a yard or two of like this black stuff with the lettering on it, and then use all my whites in a quilt. I just think that'd be cool. So I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna totally do that. Okay, anyways. So I have some Moda dots, essential dots with red. I needed some stuff for a swap project I'm doing. So this is probably going to be the background of the swap. That or this one. This one's cute too. I think it's a Moda. I couldn't tell you. They don't have labels. There's another one. It's got black dots that are spaced out. And then this is not in that modern background fabric, but it had lettering on it. It had some script, which is really pretty. My sister got a really cool paper piece book. I think it's called like the Paper Pieced Home or House or something. And it's got everything in it. It's got, you know, like a couch and a TV. She's done the TV. There's books. There's like a stack of books. Like if you could see the spines on the left and they're laying, you could see like the words. So you use like text fabric in there. It looks so cute. And I've never done paper piecing before. So we're going to add that to my repertoire that is currently sewing and applique. And quilting, because I quilted that quilt. And I got a pattern. It's by me and my sister's designs. And it's called Buttons and Thread. Okay, there you go. And it had this cute little bobbin quilt pattern and the cute little jars. Oh, I love that. So I'm gonna make these. And they're mini quilts, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it says make these 2 quilts from 1 charm pack. Yeah, so if you're doing a charm pack, it's totally a tiny quilt, which is perfect because I can hang it on a wall. Okay. I'm making sure that that was really legitimately everything. I talked about the BPFF. I think that's like a good update on a life of crafting here in Texas. Okay, a couple of podcasts. I was gonna mention some podcasts I watch. I've noticed a lot of podcasters have been doing that. I think it's kind of cool that we kind of help each other out, whatever. And I mentioned I watched the Yarngasm podcast by Kristen of Vine Yarns. And I also I hadn't watched his podcast in a while either. I hadn't watched like any podcast. I got obsessed with them and then I stopped for like 4 months or so. But I watched the I always want to call it the Twisted Podcast, the Twisted Lemon Podcast. It is not that. It's called the Freakish Lemon Podcast. And it is by Adrian. And he has a group on Ravelry as well called I think it's called the Freakish Lemon Podcast Group. So you can find more about it there. And there's a link to his website and stuff. Just like the Yarngasm Podcast has. She has a whole website. She has a website called villainvineyarns.com. And she has a separate website for the podcast. But I think it's Yarngasm Podcast. But I'll link it in the show notes because I don't know the name of the website. I just clicked the link on her website. But those are two that I watch. And I've been really getting into. My dog is going to try really hard to knock that tripod over. But anyway, so, yep. That's pretty much, I'm watching that, and the Knit Girls have been my 3 that I've been pretty into. I think the Knit Girls are pretty well known, but they're the Knit Girls, and Girls has 3 L's in it. You can find them on YouTube. You can find all 3 of them that I mentioned on YouTube, and you can find Yarngasm and the Knit Girls on iTunes, which is where I watch most of my podcasts, but I can't watch the Freakish Lemon there, so at least I don't think I can. I think I looked for it and I couldn't find it, so I watch him on YouTube. But anyways, sorry, it is pretty late here, so I think that is everything. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me while I talked non-stop for goodness knows how long. So you have a fantastic day. Happy crafting. And if you're at the BPA Fest, or if you're in the Sherman, Texas area, come check it out. It is fun. It's a good time. And it's fun because a lot of the people from the community do show up that I don't think normally, they wouldn't drive to Stitches, Texas maybe, but they would come to a thing here. So if you are in the area, you should totally come. Anyways, thank you and have a good night. Bye.